member of the group talk for a little bit and just on a few different topics to just give you a picture of some of the things that we did and some of the just important experiences and opportunities that we had in Thailand. It was a really great trip. Are you guys still tired? I've got this lull at about 7 o'clock, right when I'm putting Jack to bed, where I make it through about 2 lines of a storybook before I crash. And then I wake up at 45 minutes later and can't go back to sleep until 3 a.m. or something. So, still trying to work out. But if anybody finds me sleeping underneath my desk, just kick me aside and tell me to get back to work. So let me just give you a brief little overview. I'm going to play this. This is just going to be kind of pictures playing throughout, and it might loop through once or twice. If you see a picture where you're just thinking, like, what the heck is that? Why are all of those girls surrounding Luke? Be afraid to ask questions, okay? Our group is going to be sort of like a panel. We have some discussion things that we want to talk about, but we also just want to know your questions as well. So if you were wondering stuff throughout the trip, if these pictures bring up stuff in your mind, feel free to ask, okay? So I'm going to play this, and then I'm just going to walk through for maybe like 5 minutes what the 2-week schedule was like. And then we'll sort of get into these little subtopics of things that we were doing. Okay? So this was right when we left for the airport. So we left that Tuesday and flew from Seattle to Seoul, Korea to Bangkok and spent the first couple of days recouping and sleeping. Well, I did. Yes, okay, so I should have said I. I spent the first day sleeping. Oh, yeah, Lynn, you're supposed to be over here.
Why? You're a team member.
Because we got an open seat, and it was like too much. But we spent the first couple of days getting acclimated to Thailand. I was sick. I don't know if you remember right before I left, I had like a raspy voice, was coughing and sniffling and all this stuff. Well, it didn't turn out well for me. I spent the next couple of days trying to recoup. But we also did orientation with the Thailand team. That's these people right here from the LHM. And they kind of showed us around Bangkok and also around Thailand, or also around LHM, and showed us some of the things that they're doing in Thailand. And then these are some of the kind of cultural places that they took us. After the few days of orientation, we flew north to Udon Thani, where we did an eyeglass clinic for 800 people in the rural area of Phao Rai. We worked with the local government and the churches there, and administered an eyeglass clinic for 800 people. And then after that, we went to schools, 2 schools in the Nong Khai, Phao Rai area, and we taught English. I spoke about this a little bit. We taught English and played games, and I played soccer. I hurt my foot. I did the hokey pokey. I hurt my foot.
You were barefoot.
I was barefoot the whole time. Yeah, you'll notice in a lot of these pictures, the barefoot. Pastor Sampong, no shoes there. And after we did the 5 days up north, we came back and did just a little bit more cultural kind of sightseeing stuff. We also worked with an English school that LHM has in Bangkok. Luke will talk a little bit more about that. And we just had a real wonderful time and felt very welcomed and had the opportunity to share not only the gift of sight, the gift of smiles, the gift of laughter with people, but also had the great opportunity of sharing the scriptures with people too, and engaging with them, and being able to pass on the tradition and the good news that has been given to us. So that was a great chance for us. I would like to start maybe, the first person I'd like, this is going to make him nervous, but I want Luke to talk first, just for a moment. Luke, let me just tell you, Luke's a brave man, and he did an awesome job. Luke's 17 years old, and came to Thailand with a bunch of seasoned travelers, and this is the first time he's out of the country. And he, from day one, was just engaging with people, was trying new things, was trying weird food, was talking to more people than probably any of us were. So I was real proud of him. So I would like Luke to just talk briefly about two things. Luke worked with the English school a little bit in Bangkok. And spent time there. And then he also, I would also like him to talk a little bit about what it was like to be a youth in Thailand. And then also what it was like to go on your first mission trip as a 17-year-old way out in the boonies of Thailand. Okay? So maybe if you could just talk for a second about those things. And you'll notice that Luke's shirt is like mine, but louder. It is. You're going to have to talk louder, project it.
Okay, so you're saying about the English Center, I believe it's called the Journey to the Light English Center, right?
Yep.
Basically, I did a little more freelancing than the rest of the group. On the way home, Dennis was saying that if I ran back over into the Light Center, that I might be able to catch the last class of the day. So, right as we get home from the airport, I get out of the clothes I was wearing and get dressed in something a little more appropriate to that cultural area. So basically, slacks and something kind of like this. Sprint over there and I meet up with Robin, the lead teacher of the area. And we go into, it was supposed to be the second to last class, but her other class canceled for the day. So I was there with two boys. First was named Earth. The second, his name was, I think it was Bach. No, not Bach, Chop. That was it. Both were 19-year-old guys. First one was going to college for English, and second was working there at the Air Force, actually. So we worked with them for a while. And how the English Center teaches is a little bit different than how you might assume they teach. Most Thai children learn English. As Boone was saying, they could probably conjugate our verbs better than you guys can. That doesn't mean they can use a word of what they know. They know how to use it in theory, like I took Latin. That doesn't mean I can speak Latin. So they know the words in theory, but they don't know how to put them into purpose. So a lot of our teaching is a little more just talking to them. So we'll go in, like Robin had me introduce myself. The main rule of her class is you have to speak in English. So if you want to say something, you got to learn how to say it. So they had to figure out how to say, I'm working at Air Force School and we're parachuting tomorrow. So they had to figure out things like that. So we did a lot of communicating. A couple, I believe it was a week and a half before, it was the Thursday we got there. No. Wednesday, was it? Robin, after the class, we did the whole introduction with everyone, and it's about, I'd say 7 or so, was it? That I decided that I didn't really want to go back to the hotel because I was not tired. I've been staying up for way too long because of the jet lag. And Robin decided that I could come out with her and her other class. They were doing a out-of-class classroom, I guess you would call it. So basically, she took me and two of her older students. I think they were 21 and 22. And we just went out to Pizza Hut and just had class there. Her goal for the night was her students had to teach me Thai culture. Which we quickly learned that was their favorite thing to say, because since I am a Throng, which basically means Westerner. So I don't know anything about Thai culture, and they decided that Thai culture should be the way to get me to do anything. So Say they want me to call the waiter over. It's Thai culture. You know? I don't know. Say, they want me to pay for everything. It's Thai culture. Say they want me to pay for the gas for the car. It's Thai culture. Oh gosh. Luckily Robin was there. So about 80% of the time when she said is Thai culture, she would say it is not. Anything but. So we had a fun time that night going back and forth, learning all sorts of things. But Robin, since it is a Christian organization, in Thailand, if you try to blatantly preach to them, they're going to turn away and ignore everything you're saying. If you give them a Bible site, they're going to take it as disrespectful. What are you doing? Why are you invading my religion? What are you doing? While on the complete offside of this, they love Christians. They just don't want to be preached to because we bring things to the area. So how Robin teaches children about God is different than you'd expect because she just kind of throws it in there, but not in a way that's like preachy. If that makes any sense. So we're playing a board game, right? School board game here. Tell me about. So you land on space, and spaces say, tell me about a good book you've read. And so we're going around. I think Josh says, I want to say he read the Harry Potter series. Right? I named the book I read. Robin. I have a great book I read. I read the Bible. Right? She goes on, tells a little bit about it. Not too much, just nothing. That's how I read it. Next space we land on, tell me about a very important person in your life. Right? John is, well, teacher Robin. Robin flies Jesus. So she just throws in the ears a little bit. Not like saying you need to be invested in it. It's just enough to get them interested. After talking to Robin for a while, she's been doing this with university. Apparently all of her older students have now been signing everything they send to her with God bless you at the end of it. They had never really heard that sentence before they even came to the Life Center.
Talk just briefly, kind of to any of the youth that are in here that might be thinking about like going on a mission trip or serving overseas or something like that. About what your experience, if it was like intimidating, or how you would encourage them to do that.
Okay, let's see. So to be honest, on the plane ride, I'm thinking, wow, I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks. This is awful. Why did I ever do this? I missed so much college. Gosh, I'm going to get backed up for months. It's going to be crazy, right? We land there, and we're getting out of the terminal, and it's chaotic. It's crazy. Was it Linda we lost? Was it? No, it was on the one-way. We lose someone, lost track, got confused. Everything's chaotic. This whole time I'm thinking, wow, this is, geez, heck, what's going on? The whole time I'm just lost. And then we meet up with the LHM team. And instant welcome with open arms, holding a sign, everyone's happy. They know everyone's name perfectly, which I was quite amazed at. And already it started thinking, hey, this might not be too bad, right? You know? And from there, that's when it all started just getting better and better. Let's see, so... Yes, quite intimidating. You get there and although a lot of people do know English, a lot don't. And I talk a lot. So going to a place where if so going to a place where I couldn't talk, I thought was going to be horribly weird. But after a while, it actually kind of became fun. Communicating with the LHM team in a way that is not with words at all. So I ended up working with the LHM team quite a bit. because I would just leave because, well, hanging out there, don't really want to sit at the hotel because it's bored and 17. So I hung out with them a lot. Honestly, as a teenager, I would say it ranks up there as one of the most amazing things I've done my entire life.
One time you get a chance to act like a rock star.
That was a little weird. Apparently in Thailand, the whiter your skin, the more pretty or handsome you are. And well, I don't get a lot of sunlight, so yeah. I'm tall, I'm blonde, I'm blue-eyed, and I'm pale as paper. So that kind of being pulled back.
No, that's great. Okay, that's good. Let's go on to the kind of next topic. Thanks, Luke, for talking about that. Again, real proud of Luke and the way that he engaged with people and the way that he just jumped on board with LHM Thailand's mission, not to only share the gospel with people, but to engage with people and share their lives with them, to build relationships with them. And Luke jumped right into that, so we were real thankful for that. The first thing we did when we got to Udon Thani was begin to prepare for our eyeglass clinic and that experience, which we didn't know a lot of what to expect. We knew that there were a lot of people coming. We knew that there were a lot of people that needed glasses, and we knew that we knew that we were going to be doing something with that. And it was a great 3 days of work. I don't know, Katie, can you talk a little bit about the experience of the eyeglass clinic and just how things were set up and what the experience was like?
I don't think I need the mic. They had rows and rows and rows and rows and rows of chairs. That's where they lined the people up. And we got there early, but the people started coming earlier than we even got there. They were just excited to show up. So from the rows, then they shifted, like the first row, on over to the nurses and whatnot that registered people in and gave them a number. So one went with one and whatnot. And then they continued to shift over as this line then went through. They first came to Joyce, and there were 5 optometrist people set up, and the first one was a man, and he was the one that you would look into. The testing machine. He would line their right eye up, in crosshairs in both, and then he would punch a button, and that would give the plus or minus correction in the right eye. He shifted it over to the left eye and did the same thing, and then when he got it done, he'd hit another button and it would print it out. And then Joyce would have them put their forehead to the top part of it, much like you do in your eye, with your eye doctor. And then the chin was down there as well. So she was set up with that, and then from there they took her over to me, and I had a row of 8 chairs, and I would line the people up, and I tried to keep them the first day. That was kind of interesting. Tried to keep them in order, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. But some of them were old, crippled. They couldn't walk very much, so if they couldn't really make it to the far end of the chair, I just sort of kind of let them sit wherever they wanted to. But I tried to keep it in line because with that number, 1 also matched their ticket that punched out and would go then to the 3 gals that were set up. And just like our eye place today, those gals would put lenses in and they would say 1 or 2. So, which is better, can you see more? And they were grabbing lenses left and right. They totally knew what they were doing. And then there were 3 of those, and it was my job to make sure that as they shifted out, I would shift these guys out. I would bring these guys over. I'd halt them because maybe we had too many of them backed up. And then from there, after they chose either reading glasses or distance. Some of them had cataracts really, really, really bad, so you couldn't do a whole lot there, but you could at least give them glasses to maybe read or to walk with. And some of them, they made them get up and walk around so that they weren't so dizzy with so many lenses going and happening all the time and whatnot. from those three gals, then they walked over to Lynn and Stacy and Linda and that team over there, and then they got the eyeglasses in the proper order. The one thing I wanted to do that I made a point of is we learned that you first greet somebody with Sawatika, and that was very polite, and you put the da on the end of it, and then the male would do Sawatika back as a sign of respect. So as each one came through, I made a point of doing that to everyone. And then smiles came about, and when they shifted right, I would put my thumbs up, and they totally knew that. But the smiles were absolutely infectious. We didn't know their language, they didn't know ours, but there were two things that they knew, and one was a smile, and one was a thumbs up. The next few days, they all kind of shifted with me in the right order, so I could kind of keep it flowing a little bit better. But it was amazing just to see. And tears on some of them, some smiles, there was one tooth in their mouth, some very brown teeth, but it just didn't matter. I just couldn't quit smiling. I was just so amazed at them and the people, and just forever touched that we, the church at Creston, has made a big difference in the lives of those over 800 and some people. Just huge, huge, huge difference.
So, a few of the things that the people received, they obviously received glasses in a case, and it's kind of neat. It just says like the eyeglass clinic, and then the church at Creston, Thailand eyeglass clinic, church at Creston, and then connects them at the bottom here to LHM, and then Pastor Sampang's church, who Lynn will talk a little bit more about Pastor Sampang and our work with the government here in a moment. And then we also they also received gospel tracts in Thai language, and then also Luther's small catechism. And Luke had a great story one day when he came back for devotions, where he just said, I saw women gathering together after they received their glasses and these resources, and just gathering together in groups, reading the Bible together, or reading like scripture together as a group. And that's it's just a great picture of like the seed of God working in people. And so it was a really wonderful clinic, and I was thankful especially for Katie. Whenever I was like a little bit unsure, Katie's like the rock of positivity. if ever I was just like, we're not going to make our flight, or like, I don't know what the heck we're going to do, or this thing's not going to turn out that well, or are you guys unsure about this? Katie was like, it's going to be great. Or it's totally going to work out. And she was right. Just had a great like faith and trust in that, like, hey, we were called to do this sort of thing, and like God doesn't just like prepare the ends; He prepares the means too. And so that was wonderful for us to experience as well. Let's go on and talk briefly. I'm gonna have Joyce talk about our time at the school for a little bit, and then Lynn, I want you to talk about our work with the government and our work with Pastor Sampang, because that was an important kind of connection that we made. So, Joyce, you can maybe just give us a picture of what the school is like, and then some of the things that we did and how it was impacted.
Okay, thank you. This was something that I was really looking forward to. I wasn't sure how I was going to help in the vision. I found it wonderful, really, really wonderful. But the schools, being a teacher, was something I was pretty much looking forward to. So the first day we went into a fairly large school. There were, what, 190 students. And Mark and Carol and I, with Pastor Sampang, we had 47 in our 5th and 6th grade class that we had. But when we come to the school, we start out the day with the students, the 5th and 6th graders, leading the rest of the class in raising the flag, saying their national anthems and their things of that type, and doing the opening service out in the open in the big yard and raising that flag, and then we're all listening. The students are in charge of that whole ceremony. Then the principals and the teachers took us up into a big opening session, and we met together with that staff while the students were cleaning up the grounds in the classrooms. That was part of what they did. Oh, but I want to go back. At the end of their openings, in every one of the schools, there is a Buddha figure or a figure somewhere there. So Buddhism is so ingrained in their culture all the way through. So the children say a prayer to Buddha at the end of each day. Somehow they also didn't mind us talking about our God while we were there, but because it's a free land. But they do. Buddha is in everywhere, and in every classroom there are signs of the king and the queen and their government, and Buddhism and monks that are there in all of the classrooms that are around. So we went in and worked with the teachers then and the staff and were introduced to their program. They served us tea, the whole bit. And then we got to go into the classrooms and we divided into groups. We were paired up. I think we had 3 different groups of us. And we tried to make sure that there was somebody who could sing and somebody who could talk. And in each group, because I can't sing a note very well, Carol was with me. Carol and Mark. And so we did our classes, and we had 2 hours in the morning and then 2 hours in the afternoon. But we did various different things. I was able to do the lesson on I am. And so Pastor Reinders had done a sermon on I am. God is I am. And I wanted to do I am, He is, she is, we are. But I had a Trinity on there, and I am written in that. And then Pastor Sampong read it in Thai, a passage from the Old Testament, and then Mark read the passage in the New Testament, in the Old Testament in English, and then Pastor Sampong read New Testament in Thai, and then Carol read it in English. And then we talked about that, and so we started out with I am. My name is Joyce Wagner. I am Joyce. Okay? And then I would say, I am a child of I am. And so all the way through, and then he, she, it, and then each of the kids learned to say, I am Joyce, or I am whichever, and I am a child of I am. And they got it. They got it. We don't get I am. That's a hard concept to think of, I am. And they got bits and pieces of it. In all their lives, I hope they will get more and more of that. But we ended up in a huge circle at the end. We danced around. We are children of I am. We are children of God. Together we sang that in a passage. And here was Pastor Sampong there to help me with the Thai translations. But we did that. And then we had another hour where Carol would lead with the songs. And so we'd sing the songs like we did in front of you. And we'd sing, hello, hello, what's your name? And different songs that we would sing together and sing them in English and with them and teach them in English. So we had that extra hour to do that. And each of the other classes, they were doing similar things appropriately for those age levels. But it was really fulfilling. Then in the afternoon, we had 2 hours where the whole Lutheran Hour ministry team took the children and did all kinds of songs and dances. And their entertainment par excellence. They just did an absolutely great job. The second school was a little smaller, and I think we had about 18 to 20 in our 5th, 6th grade class, and we did similar things. They had similar opening, they did the prayers, they did the same things. But that was in the schools, and it was really, really refreshing. The kids enjoyed it so much that the next day when we were headed home, we were going back, we got phone calls on their cell phones from students calling and saying, we miss you, come back, and please remember us, and all of these types of things. And have a safe trip and the whole part. And again, we passed out. You're going to cover this then? Okay. I have this sitting out on one of the tables, this book. Child's Garden of Bible Stories, and it's all in Thai, but we've got the same thing here. Someone's got it on the table, one of their tables is sitting over there. That was there, and there were some other books in here.
Yep, and just like some coloring pencils and fun things for the students to have. Little notebook to write in, things that they can use for school. And then lastly, there were just some various like Bible stories that were in Thai and that just kind of tell some of the stories of Scripture and tell the stories of the gospel. And so just got to hand these out to them at the end of the day. And it was like a really special gift. In Thai culture, it's very, like the giver of the gift is very important. So, like for us to be foreigners and be bringing them these special presents and sharing a special time with them, really made for a meaningful just day. And hopefully they treasure these things and learn to even follow too.
So they're sitting out on the floor all in front of us, and we're walking each of us with bags and handing them personally to them, and they're saying "Kap kunta," which means thank you, and they're saying thank you because they learned that in English from us too. So very, very special.
Yeah. Great. Thanks,
Joyce, tell us about the elephant.
Oh, we'll get to that maybe.
Yeah, we can get. Why don't you just tell me, Joyce's favorite animal is an elephant, and if you just watch these pictures, soon you'll see Joyce on an elephant.
And you'll see elephant bags and stuff around with the elephants. So yeah, and that was our gift, the elephant. That's mine.
Yeah, that was a gift that we received from LHM Thailand. Yeah. Okay, so those were our main events. We're just doing this eyeglass clinic and then also working in the schools. But underneath that was a very important piece, and that was connecting people to the local church and also to the local government and then also to LHM. And so we formed a lot of relationships with those people as well. And I'd like to have Lynn just talk a little bit about our role with the local government and the local church and the LHM. Yeah.
Before I do that, I have one thing I have to say. During the eyeglass clinic, I was dispensing glasses. And we had two different stations. We had one for the positive diopters and one for the negative diopters. And so the people who got negative glasses, I had to guide them to the state further down the station. And I learned a phrase to do this, and it's "Bai Tani," which means follow me. And I couldn't help but think that had a special meaning, because the eyeglass chart that we were using for them to read to see that the glasses were right was John 3:16 in Thai. And yeah, I saw you had it there.
So they would read this.
And I practically learned John 3:16 in Thai because I heard it read that many times. I couldn't do it now, but I thought there was a special meaning in the phrase "follow me." At any rate, as far as the way this was set up, it had been set up as a collaborative effort between us, the Lutheran Hour Ministries in Thailand, and the local government in northern Thailand. And there was, the first day that we were there, the government people were sort of off in the corner and looking a little bit suspicious of the whole thing. But the director of the sub-district was a woman who had set up all of the people to come to, the native Thai people to come to this clinic. And she was a bit standoffish and not sure how this was going to go. As a politician, I'm sure she was probably a little bit concerned that if this didn't go well, it could probably dramatically affect her term of office. But as the day wore on, she got a little bit friendlier. And the beginning of each day, we were introduced as a group, and she said words which we, of course, could not understand, but explained to the people basically what was going to happen. And then she introduced Pastor Sampong, who is the pastor of Genesaret Lutheran Church in Farai, and who was also coordinating this effort. And then we were introduced as a team, and the eyeglass team was introduced, and the Lutheran Hour Ministries team was introduced. The second day, she seemed to take a little, this sub-district director seemed to take a little bit longer to say her spiel, And Pastor Sompong ultimately told us that what she told her constituency that second day was that she had taken the materials in our packet home the night before and read them. And she encouraged her people to read the materials that were included in the packet because she thought they had value for the people. The next day, she brought rice for lunch to us from her own supply, and as well as fruit from her own garden, and provided it for our lunch. The fourth and fifth days, when we were not supposed to be seeing her at all, she wasn't scheduled to show up. She showed up at both schools. The fifth day we were there, she presented each of us with a friendship offering in the form of a sarong. These are hand woven by the people in the community. And she also brought bananas from her own tree for us to take back. The bottom line here is that a friendship was formed, that there was a relationship developed that Pastor Sompong can work on for a long time to come. So we actually felt that we had planted seeds that have a chance of perhaps springing.
Yeah, I think seeing that sort of possibility for exponential growth and trust among the government people and LHM, it's encouraging. That's something that you don't plan for. It's something that you don't expect. But we're really just thankful for the way. And you'll see a picture actually of Boone and Maliwan, who is the sub-district director, kind of the mayor of the area, together, and just the smiles on their faces. And so, yeah, we were really thankful for that, and really thankful in general for our welcome into this community of Faurai, and just the way that we learned so much about them through the way that they treated us. And I'd like to have Linda talk just a little bit about just our experience with Thai culture and our experience with Thai people and their own hospitality and love and friendship towards us.
Okay, well, before I get to that, I just wanted to let you know that, this was my first mission trip. And frankly, I've not been real comfortable talking to strangers about my faith in Jesus Christ. So here I am in Thailand, and there's a lull before we're waiting for the clinic for people to come through our station. So I was sitting with one of the optometrists, and I said, "Oh, by the way, do you understand what we're all about?" And I said, "Do you know what a Christian means?" And she said, "Well, I'm a Christian." I said, "Really?" And she says, "Yes." And I said, "Oh, that's wonderful." And then she says, "But tell me, what is..." And then she pointed to the word Lutheran. And she said, "Tell me, what does Lutheran mean? How is that different than a Baptist?" She went to college here in the United States, and so that's why we were having this conversation, because she spoke English. But here I am sitting in Thailand with this young lady, and we're talking about how Lutherans and Baptists are different. Now, how would that? Would you ever imagine that would be happening? I was actually sitting with a sister in Christ. It was really a wonderful opportunity. But, I've nominated myself as your food editor. Okay? Because as you know, I like to cook food, and I was really excited about, experiencing the Thai culture from a food perspective. So, how are Thai people different than us? Well, yeah, they really like spices. But what was really amazing is there's no breakfast food. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If you want to eat tossed salad for breakfast, go right ahead. There was no differentiation between the three meals. And let me tell you, I ate all three meals. It was great. So what I wanted to show you is what is different. Well, first of all, there's no napkins, there's no paper towel, there's tissue. And tissue is important for you in many ways because, and I mean single-ply tissue. So,
Small pieces.
in small pieces of it. So you carry tissue with you everywhere because when you go to the bathroom, you've got to bring your own tissue. When you want to dry your hands, it's tissue. And when you're eating, it's tissue. Now you'd guess that we were there eating with chopsticks, right? Wrong. This is your utensils. The tablespoon in your right hand, fork in your left hand. And that's how you eat. And you really didn't need to have a knife because, the food is cut up, the meat is cut up small because it's like a little sauce that goes over your rice almost every day. And then, we started to rebel and started eating noodles. Just because we had to have, I don't know about you, but, our rice meal started on the plane going over. So, we were eating a lot of rice. So you have your tissue and your rice. And then, let me set that there for a minute. So they were talking about the subdistrict leaders, right? Oops. So she came to us, and she grew her own rice, and she cooked it. So she came to us, and handed a basket like this. And I think one of our groups says, "Well, where's the spoon?" No. You put your hand in, and you just pull out some sticky rice, and I watched Kyle. He rolled it into a ball, kind of like playing with his food, and popped it in his mouth. And that's so, he told us, you don't be first. You always watch what other people do. And so that's what we did. So we ate. So you eat with your fingers. So if it's not cut up, like maybe they gave us fish or they gave us chicken. So then you eat with your fingers. Go back this way. So there's, what I filled this up with is candy. I wanted to find something to share with you, and I thought these candies were unique to this area. I bought them in Bangkok. And dare we tell Luke's mom, Carol, how many of these Luke ate?
I think I ate most of Luke's.
Oh, well, that's what I was going to say. And then the next person would be Kyle. So the food is different, and we could tell how spicy it was based on looking at Mark's head. Because it would just get red. And the more it went on, the more he ate more and more spicy foods, and Carol would look at him and say, "And who are you?" Places to eat. If you had 2 old plastic chairs and a rickety old table and a little grill, you could open a restaurant. And they did. They were all over, just along the road. And then, of course, if you had a bicycle, you could have more, substantial food. And then they had these carts that were like a wagon, that had maybe like 4 wheels that they could wheel out and have lights on it and that. When we were in Bangkok one day, we were getting ready to go through the palace, and here was a woman that had pulled up to the curb, and she opened up her trunk, and here was these big pots of food, and so she sold the food. You can eat almost anywhere, if you're brave enough to try. But how are we? So that's how we're different. But how are we the same? That's what really impressed me, is how much we are the same. They use food as an expression of love, just like we do here. We cook because we want to share, and eating is an important part of getting to know one another. And the Thai people, as they started to understand who we were and what we were about, maybe that first lunch, we purchased for us, but then the next lunch was supplemented, and then, so our 2 Sundays, people cooked for us. At the school, both days, our lunches were huge banquets where people just covered the tables with food. People brought things from their gardens. People, made their signature dish. And then they would be peeking around the corner, watching to see if we liked it. And they cooked not as spicy. They would tell us, oh, that dish is for the local people. This dish is for you. And then Kyle and I would always try the local dish. And that one, you could tell that they would be like, oh, you ate that. Oh, isn't that wonderful? So they were, so that's what, to me, that's how we were so similar. And wow, did we get wonderful hugs. You can't believe how happy those women were when they came back to the school, because they got, earlier in the week they got eyeglasses, and they wanted to say thank you. So like in the afternoon, they would bring these little appetizers, little things, little treats for us to eat in the afternoon. Frankly, in the evening, I had a hard time talking myself into eating, but I never missed a meal.
Yeah, I was always real thankful for Linda's, one, her bravery to try food with me, and then two, her commitment to spicy noodles. And we would go to this one place, and I think I put 4 pictures on here of it just because I really liked it so much. And it was this woman who would just make us this awesome dish of spicy noodles. We eat them. So a lot of wonderful experiences culturally, just to see ways that were similar, ways that were different. But just ways that God connects us, even in the midst of our difference, through our similarities. So we're really thankful for that. I want to say a word just about Mark and Carol. Mark and Carol couldn't be here today. Mark had to work, and then Carol's sick. But I was very thankful for them on the trip, and specifically for Carol, just to see her bravery. I mean, you guys know her story. That she is a cancer patient. She is in the midst of chemotherapy. She is she can tire easily, but was still willing to heed the call that she felt in her heart, her and Mark, to go. And I was just so impressed by the way that she just stuck it out every single day. It was trying and would take breaks and then get back into it. And yeah.
I got to tell you this story. Carol was teamed up with me for teaching, and we were playing. We were doing the teaching the game Duck, Duck, Goose, and so she was teaching it, and she goes around Duck, 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 Goose, and she hits me, and I'm down on the floor, my legs underneath me, and I have to get up and chase her around the circle and try to catch her. She beat the heck out of me.
I mean, Carol's tried us. Envision it.
And the kids were just clapping. They were so excited. And so when it came to it, for the energy in front of the kids, it was there.
Yeah.
Her heart was there big time.
Yeah, so that's a great story, and just a little piece of what she did too. Last I'd like to have Stacy talk, and I think Stacy was a real asset to the trip, also because I thought she was really brave, and I thought that she was just willing to jump into things and try stuff. She was on my team. Me, Linda, and Stacy were in the classrooms. And I just saw Stacy really engaging with everything that was thrown at her, except for a few spicy foods. And this was Stacy's been around, just traveled around before, but this was her first mission trip. So I wanted to have her kind of talk similarly to Luke, of just like any of you guys who have never been on a trip like this, or maybe are on edge. I'd just like to have Stacy talk for a minute just about her experience and just encourage those who are maybe on the fence about something like this. What it was like.
All right, as Kyle said, this is my first mission trip, and as the sermon went, talking about family, that seemed to really was a thought, because right at the airport when we left, of course we got up at 2:30 and leave on a flight at 5 something, and church family was there to take pictures of us, to send us off and hug us and just tell us to have a good trip and God bless. And as like Kyle said, we had to hustle and soul to get to our connection and get on the tram with all these, well, I don't think there's a limit of how many people can get in a tram. So got close, yeah, and got to, that was one of the ways to start, breathe in the air of traveling and see the people. And but yeah, as soon as we got into Bangkok, and we didn't see him right away, so we were wondering what we were supposed to be looking for. And then, we see the banner, and they all are welcoming us and hugging us and know our names, and we are just, I'm floored. I'm thinking, this is amazing how I've never seen these people before, and they are speaking our language, some better than others. And, like I said, it was family. They not one time felt like you couldn't ask them anything. I did ask Dennis a little more questions than I should have, because he led me astray a couple times, but that's another story. That tissues, like she said, are good, and all those things to be prepared. But they did not leave me, so that was good too. So that was a question mark for Dennis. But you might meet him in September, and then you will know when he comes. So, but yeah. So the whole Lutheran Hour Ministry team was just amazingly friendly and a blessing. And from even the van drivers, they have such a community. Everybody that was involved, and the setup that they did, and going north, like Lynn touched on, with the sub-district leader whom didn't know us at all. They've had some different entities, had different connections with some mission people and some Americans, but we were all different, had different things going on in our lives, and came together for this mission. And it was just a wonderful mission, and we could see the difference in the people that got the eyeglasses. The second day, Katie and I were walking down the street, and a lady zooms by us on a motorcycle, showing her glasses. Hey, and we're like, wow, setting up for the second day, and so that was really cool. And every day there was just new blessing, and as they've all touched on, how humble we were to just be there, and myself, and the team, the eyeglass team, who was wonderful and so patient with us. And also I gave out glasses and tried to learn little bits of Thai, and the longest I do, which was try on, and which sometimes I said better than others, but it's wonderful how you can, with your upbeat personality and your shutting, or saying try on or thumbs up, they could resonate all that. They could understand what we were trying to do. Not at one time did it feel like they were just happy to be there. And the same thing with what Lynn said, with I had the opportunity to have men and women read John 3:16, and they didn't just read a sentence. They were so excited, so proud that they could read something. Of course, again, you're just interpreting but just the body language. They were just from top to bottom. And sometimes, I don't know, maybe even the copyright. I don't know. They were reading it all. They were just super excited. And that was a blessing, and really nice. And like I said, the hugs of these people whom you don't know. And again, as Kyle would say, we'll see in heaven. And that was a wonderful thing that you may not always know if you see these people again, but you do know where we will go. So thank you for sending us.
I know we're over time, and I just want to say again, like Stacy said, thank you for sending us, and understand that everywhere we went, we were always a member of the church at Creston. That's who was sending us. That's who was giving the glasses. That's whose faces and names, like these kids were connected to, was the church at Creston's. So the church has a wonderful ability to reach people, to touch people that are way beyond our borders, way beyond our scope of who we would like hang around with, you know. And I'm really thankful for this church that they took the opportunity to care for people that are way outside of where we are or our experience. And so I want you to see like these gifts that we were given of a sarong of friendship, of the tie that binds us together, right? As something that ties our church to the church in Thailand as well. And it's just a wonderful gift that we have to be able to serve and to be able to share in the mission to share God's love with people around the world. Jesus said to Samaria, to Judea, to the ends of the earth. And I'm thankful that this church is still a part of that mission. So thank you, and we hope you guys enjoyed the presentation. I would say that you guys can take off if you want. If anybody has questions, hang around. Our group will hang around, and you can come up and look at resources, look at some of the cultural items you get. I encourage you to take some candy because it's delicious. But let's, Charlie?
Just one more thing before any of you guys take off. Thank you very much.
Yeah, we sort of sit, Sawadika. Yeah, Kakunga. Yeah. So, it's hard. Just mumble something and go. But honestly, to God be the glory for all of it. We can't achieve these things we can't achieve anything without Him ordaining it, desiring it, and making it fruitful. So we are thankful for the way that God works in our lives and in our time. Let's close with prayer, and then you guys can ask questions, hang out, and check out some of the stuff that we have. Gracious Heavenly Father, we thank you for the way that you work. We thank you for the songs and the scriptures and the stories that we have to share with one another and with those who we don't know, with those whom you call us to. And God, we pray that we would see every neighbor of ours as someone to whom Jesus comes to. And we just pray your blessing over this church and the mission that you have for it here in Kalispell. And may our time in Thailand be fruitful there, but may it also be fruitful here in our mission to all those who don't know your love. We thank you for being our God, and we thank you for calling us as your children. Amen.